All right. Let's see if this is working. I think it is. Um, excellent connection. Cool. One of the things that's been cool is having decent internet. Like, I don't know if people noticed, but there hasn't been any of that frame dropping. Usually, when that happened, it was because of my connection, because I was on Wi Fi and it was at the other end of the house. But now I have fucking actual decent internet, and it doesn't ass cancer its way halfway through the shit. So that's kind of nice. Anyway, the thing is up. We are doing the thing. Say noises. Commit crimes. Yes.
Eggplant.
Prior to my phone call about extractions, I may have shroomed in the garden today.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. The garden. Oh, it was beautiful. I was shrooming and I was there with the cannabis plants and I was all sticky and gross. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
In Minecraft.
I may have committed a felony or so.
Footage. This is like a video game discussion stream, right?
Well,
I mean, he said, tell about your felonies, so
Yeah.
I thought I'd tell about a felony.
So, if we're talking about that though, just in video games, real quick, this is how you can tell that the movie Sonic is a different Sonic, because the movie Sonic hates mushrooms. The game Sonic and Archie Sonic, his chili has mushrooms in it. So, they're clearly two separate entities. And one of the entities is definitely superior, but movie Sonic is also fine. I don't know why I'm still eating. I think the food is just there looking at me. Anyway, this is a stream about rallies. And two of them that mostly, in my view, sucked ass. But we'll be getting different perspectives on the potential existence or lack thereof of ass sucking that occurred at these rallies. My guests today include Jacob Winograd, Angela Thornton, Dana Carver, Rose Leatherman, and myself. And I will start with Jacob because he has to book soon. But he wanted to say some words and get involved in some of the discussion. So we'll start, because we've basically all introduced ourselves at this point. We'll start just sort of jumping into the discussion with this particular topic today only, because I want to make sure Jacob can discuss this with us. My view on the rally is there was basically one good speech that I can reference at all. And the one good speech that I could reference at all was the speech where the guy was criticizing the Trump support that was happening both there and elsewhere. And I think that guy exhibited stones that the rest of the people who showed up to this did not, because I basically qualify the last two rallies as Trump rallies, given their critical support for Trump and their lack of criticism of Trump. So I'm sure you disagree with that on some level, but I'm interested as to your general response, Jacob, and you can also, of course, say what you feel about the rallies in general. For those of you who ever decide that you want to listen to that particular thing, it's Russell Dobular, I don't care. And his speech is available in full on Do Dissidents YouTube. I've never been to their channel except to pull this off of it, so I can't vouch for the goodness of the channel, but Russell had an excellent speech there about not becoming the peasants that love their masters and hold up the establishment as long as it caters and panders to them. It's good stuff. I like that part. But anyway, Jacob, let's start with you, because you have some things to say, and then you say you got a book relatively soon. So say some stuff, and then we'll see if we can get some general impressions of what you say, and the discussion will go on as long as you got.
Right on, and I apologize. I hope to one day make one of these and be able to stay the whole time, but I never seem to. I always find out about them last minute, so I always have stuff going on. But I appreciate you having me. So I will say that my position is probably not going to satisfy anybody. The people who thought these rallies were unmitigated successes will probably not like that my position is more nuanced, but I also would disagree with the characterization that they were primarily or necessarily at all Trump rallies. Now, I was at the Sunday rally, which was the Rescue the Republic one. I was not at the Rage Against the War Machine rally. I did watch as much of that as I had time to watch, both live and going back and looking at it later. I did like the speech of the guy you just mentioned. Already forgot his name.
Russell Russell Dobby.
Yeah.
We'll call him Dobby for now because he's not here.
Yeah,
There's
a weird thing with Russell's going on today.
If you want to reclaim your name, you got to come on the show, Russell. For now, you'll be Dobby.
He has to bring socks.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Good Harry Potter reference. All right. So, I'll give you the general vibe I got of the Rescue the Republic rally, because I could talk. I mean, I think just quick thing. I think that logistics wise, I think that one of the reasons, there's many, that the Saturday rally wasn't well attended. I mean, weather was probably somewhat of a factor, but like people set their travel plans in advance. It's not like they buy plane tickets and stuff and then go, oh, nope, rain, we're not going to go. So there's definitely some failure to execute in terms of properly advertising, getting enough draw, and also I think just trying to put two somewhat similarly themed events next to each other on the same weekend, but one event has a lot more headline speakers than the other one. I just think that there was, hindsight being 2020 might be what some people say to that, but I think some foresight could have gone in there. To any event, I'll focus on the Rescue the Republic rally event, which I attended with the Libertarian Christian Institute. We were there as like press. We got media passes, and we were there to kind of shoot footage. You guys like we have
what did footage do to you?
Yeah, and we're putting actually together a little documentary of it. We did a lot of like man on the street stuff, talking to people. We interviewed some of the speakers who came out to the media booth and gave some kind of like live on the ground analysis and reactions and stuff. So here's my perspective on it. Were there people there who were, 100% all in MAGA? I mean, absolutely. In fact, one of the first things I saw when I got there, other than the million porta potties that I think everyone has probably seen in the pictures and stuff that have been posted online, which although also I feel like that was a little overkill, but
just
a tad bit.
When the people in your audience are so full of shit,
I knew that was coming. That's a good one. Very clever. No, so I think that the first thing I saw was someone set up a little table and they were selling a bunch of MAGA Trump shirts and hats and stuff like that. Yeah, for sure, there were Trump people there.
Support Chinese manufacturing.
Absolutely. Who says that Trump and the Republicans are China hawks, right? No.
I have to interject here. Almost every freaking speaker there said vote for Trump. So you can't say it wasn't a Trump rally. And I'm sorry that I interrupted, but I have to say that. You can't say it wasn't pro-Trump because almost every speaker there, I sat through the whole freaking thing twice just to make sure I was right. But almost every speaker said vote for Trump, including Rob Schneider, who I love.
A lot of the speakers did say to vote for Trump. And also the other thing that a lot of the speakers said and acknowledged was that they knew that a lot of people that were there were not all politically aligned. And that's the main takeaway I got here. Because, yes, of course, a lot of people are going, listen, there are two options. And if you are politically aware enough to know of Chase Oliver, there are three options. But unfortunately, not a lot of people know about third-party politics, let alone the Libertarian Party. So it's not surprising that when people are looking at what is presented through, just like the essence of our political structure is unfortunately a duopoly, as we all know. And so, yeah, a lot of people are going to make recommendations of one of the two major party candidates, and a lot of them are going to, for reasons that came out in their speeches and whatnot, favor Trump over Kamala Harris. Not that I am a Trump fan myself, but I can understand their logic. But the energy that I got from the rally was less about, ooh, rah, rah, Trump, he's the savior of everything, but rather it was a celebration of the fact that there's this coalition of people from different political backgrounds and different walks of life who are uniting behind ideas more than uniting behind a person. And one of the things that we at LCI talked about, and you'll see this when our interviews get published after everything gets edited and put together and what for sound, because it was quite loud there. But one of the things that we asked them was like, well, all right, this rally's called Rescue the Republic. So what are we going to do about that? Because every 4 years, there's a presidential election, and it's always the most important election of our lifetime. And what a lot of speakers acknowledged was that it's not just about the presidential election. It's about grassroots efforts. It's about the people who are all for health freedom. It's about the people who are all for food freedom. It's about the people who are about reforming the school systems. There are so many different macro and micro groups and factions within the entire representation of the people that made up this event and that attended this event and spoke at this event. And I think to merely label it and describe it as a Trump rally is severely reductionary. And I'm not saying that everything about the event was an unmitigated good. Were there speakers who said things that I strongly disagreed with? Absolutely. But there was also that constant theme, which I've described as a acknowledging of a sort of like political realignment where people are able to coalition together on issues that they agree with, even if they're not going to vote for the same person come November, even if they don't see eye to eye on other topics that they're passionate about. There's at least enough there in common, and I think that libertarians should be more pro-coalition than they've been in the past. And I don't think it's compromising on your principles to engage in spaces like this and to find common ground, to network with these different groups, because not only does that help us to focus on these single issue coalitions and to try to make progress on them, but it's also an opportunity for us to connect with people, to build relationships with people, and to begin to plant seeds of the libertarian ideology in our conversations with these people that we're working with and forming relationships with. And that's how you actually grow libertarianism in this country. It's not through arguing with people on the internet, and I'm calling myself out there too, because believe me, like Jeremiah, I love to argue on the internet.
Oh, I hate it actually, and I'm being serious.
Okay.
I authentically hate doing it. I wish I didn't have to, but I do it anyway. I try to find little pieces of enjoyment out of it. It's one of the reasons I Sonic post, because it makes it less hateful. But I really wish I didn't have to. I don't actually take very much joy in it unless I have an effect.
But the point I'm making, and I'll land on this, is that ultimately we have to get out of our sort of like echo chambers of just arguing with other libertarians and realize that we libertarians can hate each other and argue over an inch of separation. Meanwhile, we're so close to each other compared to the rest of America that we should be putting more effort into talking with those people who disagree with us and working with them, not making them our enemies, because that's not how you change people's minds. You change people's minds when you convince them that hey, you and I are friends, we're allies. We actually want the same thing. And then you have conversations over time where it's like, oh, I understand your concern here, and you think that we need government for that. You think that we need regulations for that. Well, let me introduce you to some libertarian literature or podcasts, or just give you my own insight and knowledge on why perhaps that's not the case. Now, is that as immediately gratifying as owning the libs or the magatards on Twitter when they say dumb things about tariffs or, the corporate greed or stuff like that? Probably not. But that is what's more effective.
Can I ask a question real quick here, Jacob? How much libertarian messaging did we get out at that meeting? How much literature did we go out? How many times did we mention?
I was at the Libertarian.
Not you personally. The people on the stage, the organizers. How much of this rally? Because we're in the middle of an election season, and it'd be nice if there was like an organizer or two who had mentioned or put out some of our ideas on that main stage or mentioned that we had a candidate. I mean, I get it. You're down in the crowd, reaching out, touching hands, and being all libertarian, and that's good. But, one thing I learned from the Ron Paul years, that's not enough. You've got to get the message out from the big stage. One-on-one is fine, but you're just never going to get the numbers that way. So, I mean, that's like one of my criticisms of this rally is that it wasn't a political rally for the Libertarian Party. This is, coalition building. That kind of stuff should happen in the off season. We don't do that during political season. Our focus should be getting libertarians on the stage, debate stage, speaking engagements in front of the cameras. Building this whatever thing. This isn't the right time for that.
So, and
I don't necessarily agree. I mean, okay, yes, getting libertarians on the debate stage would be nice, but we don't really have any control over that. And to be completely fair,
we had control over that.
Mm-hmm.
Angela was in charge of this.
Yes.
Angela is the chair of the fucking party. She was in charge of this. She could have had Chase both days.
And she fundraised.
He was invited. He actually was invited and did not go. He decided, I think he was in Pennsylvania or something.
I was told he was not invited.
I don't hold her responsible for that one. I'm just saying, like, the main debate stage, yeah, that'd be nice, but the duopoly is not.
Hold on, let me speak to a couple of
against like coalition building this time of year. So I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, let me say a few things here. I think one, Angela is not the god queen over the Libertarian Party, over Rage Against the War Machine, or against Rescue the Republic. She is one of the main
she
coordinators.
Is the god queen.
Okay, that's not
She is
true.
the chair of the Libertarian Party, the National Libertarian Party.
Saying it doesn't make it so.
She's the founder of Rage Against the War Machine and the founder of the Maha thing, what they call it, Rescue the Republic. She is all of the things on the things.
Okay. I can be the founder of a business. I can be a founder of a business or organization, but then when that organization is run, there can be multiple people in leadership who have to build consensus when making decisions. Like the Rescue the Republic thing, yes, Angela was a big part of that. So was Brett Weinstein. So was other people. The Rage Against the War Machine, that wasn't just Angela, that was also Nick Barana, that was also other people involved. And then the problem is that I think you're putting the cart before the horse. We don't have enough big name libertarians who are going to draw big crowds to help pay for big events like this that people are going to come and show up at. And we don't have enough people, libertarians in general, to fill huge crowds like that. So what we have to do
we do, but they kicked them all out.
Okay.
Like they came in and they took over and they said, go away. You all suck. And they said, we're going to have our people. We're going to have our Dave Smith and we're going to have our Clint Russell and all the things. And we're going to do the thing and you guys all suck. That's what we're told.
I get that you want to listen. We're having a conversation about the rally. If we start opening up 20 different threads about everything that's happened in the Libertarian Party and movement over the last 5 years, we're not going to get anywhere.
But who from the Libertarian Party movement that's actually involved in the party did Angela actually talk about? She didn't even talk about this to her own board. Like her own board didn't know until the last fucking minute.
Well, the Rescue the Republic thing was not a Libertarian Party event, although the Libertarian Party did show up there and man a table, and they handed out tons of literature, including a lot of literature on why tariffs are bad to Trump supporters, and having a lot of conversations with Trump supporters about why Trump's economic policies regarding trade and tariffs are not actually good for America or the working class, or for peace. So.
Right, but she didn't even get that approved by the board. Like, she just put a table up without board approval and just did that on her own because she's micromanaging and not even paying attention to what the party wants. Like, literally, what I watched with the Sunday thing, like, let's not even talk about Saturday yet, but Sunday, what I watched was a tribute to the state with flags and the state prayer and the state song and all the things that maybe minarchists like, but most anarchists and most libertarians don't like the state worship. But that was like the first 26 minutes. I have all the timelines here. And then we went into prayer, and we were told that all the people there were going to go to heaven because, like, we stood up for Trump and whatnot. And then, like, almost every other speaker said Trump was great and we should vote for Trump. Then we got more prayers, and then we got more Christian singers and all the kind of things, and then more Trump. I mean, like, literally, like, you have to replay it and watch it, dude, because this was like a total RFK Trump rally. And the background was Maha, Make America Great Again, which is Trump and RFK. I mean, this is crazy. You can say that. I'm sorry.
What the fuck is Maha anyway? I keep hearing this.
Make America
healthy
healthy
again.
You know.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
RFK Tuesday amendment.
That makes me so fucking laugh because RFK is like, oh, I'm gonna get behind Trump and we're gonna make America healthy again. I'm like the same dude that eats like fucking.
Guy that fucking.
All right. Well,
I
I have to go after this, so I'll just say that I made several points for why I thought this was much more than, like, it wasn't a Trump. Now, were there people there supporting Trump, and were there even speakers that say we should support Trump? Absolutely. But was this just a Trump rally? Is that all that took place? That is not true. And the only arguments I heard had little to do with what the rally was and more to do with, well, we don't like that Angela did it this way. We don't like Angela because of broader things going on in the Libertarian Party, Libertarian movement.
Well,
all of that is separate debate and separate discussions to be had. But in terms of was this a rally to show up just to be like, MAGA 2024 and beyond, Trump is the future, or was it to talk about, you know, with what now Trump and support for Trump was present, but was the underlying current that, or was it about the ideas? Was it about the coalitioning? And I'm saying it was much more about the ideas and the coalitioning.
Let him finish real quick because he has to book, and then like I'll say something real quick.
I was there, by the way.
Jacob, finish real quick.
Well, I think that's basically all I wanted to say. It's just that I get that. Listen, there could be 100 criticisms for like how Angela and the leadership could have done this better. Maybe they didn't do things right. Like, I'm not on the LNC. I'm not going to get into a debate about that. I was asked to come and give my thoughts on the rally, and I was responding to the idea if this rally was a Trump rally. Well, and I've presented my arguments for why I think that's not the case.
Let me just present a few things, and you can give your impressions or not, but I'd really like to hear your impressions before anything else. The first thing I'll say is first, I don't know who Chris is talking to, but I'm going to mute that. The first thing is that I'm going to mute that again.
Tyrannical host.
The first thing is that the rally itself has as its splash image and its main promotional content seemingly AI altered image of the crossing the Potomac George Washington painting with like him and Columbia. And all these other people represented by people who would be there at the rally. And Trump was in place of George Washington. So the propaganda, like, already that you get if you, like, look at the splash image for the webpage is already Trump propaganda. And then you said it was single issue. Like, I'm trying to just go off what you said. I'm trying not to, like, make this about libertarian stuff.
Well, there were multiple single issue factions that were there and being spoken about.
Well, okay, and I can understand that, but so the people behind it, it says like it's brought to you by the creators of Defeat the Mandates and Rage Against the War Machine. Now, the first single issue there, Defeat the Mandates, it's pretty ironic to me that the people behind Defeat the Mandates had a rally so supportive of the guy who was the initial architect of lockdowns and vaccines. And then the second thing is that you can't really, and you seemed to agree with this earlier today, you can't really be anti-war and be a blood-soaked Zionist like Trump is. And when it comes down to it, he has been widely supportive of whatever policies seem to be in line with his like authoritarian right-wing base, and the people involving this rally, RFK Jr. is going to be his health czar. That's the whole Maha thing. And there are a variety of other people here, like Tulsi Gabbard, who's going to be in his cabinet. A variety of other people here who I think are also going to be in his cabinet. And the reason I'm bringing all this up is because when your rally says that you're going to rescue the republic, and it has like propaganda image of Trump at the head of that rescue effort, and it has the same propaganda page using Star Wars font and general like graphic design to make it seem like, this is on a similar level to like rescuing the republic from the Sith. First off, heavy nerd energy probably not going to work the way that these people want with the heavily fucking co-opted Disney, let's just say. But apart from that, the general vibe of this seems to be less about single issue anything and more just a general sentiment that my republic is in danger and we need to do something. And that vagueness lets them fill in the blank. In their promotional video for it, they were pretty vague about what they would actually do. But they did say that we have this rally. And if the rally that people show up for is primarily people on a stage that seem to be carrying the banner for Trump, I don't know how I'm supposed to, and some of them are in his cabinet, right? And I don't know how I'm supposed to believe that that's anything other than a Trump rally when literally the person they're rallying around in the promotional materials is Trump, you know? And I'll let you fully respond to that as much as you want to. Try not. Well, we can talk as much once he leaves as we want to. Like we'll have like an hour and 15 left, but I want to get Jacob's take on that. I really think that that's a good faith way of describing a significant amount of my issues with the Rescue the Republic rally. You're free to let me know what you think.
All right. So as to the promotional material, yeah, I mean they're trying to hype people up, and they're putting. I think they did more than just change George Washington. I think
they
they
did.
changed like a bunch of So
it was like all the speakers got their own like seat in the boats.
Yeah. So am I like cheering, going like hooray for that? Like not really. I'm not huge on Trump. And yes, I'm not denying that, as I said at the beginning, like I think my first spiel, that was there definitely people there supporting Trump, including the speakers. Yes. But when you label something a Trump rally, the connotation of that is that all that people did when they got together was talk about how we're here to support Trump, that this was just a MAGA event and everyone that showed up was MAGA, and everything that was talked about was essentially, well, Trump's going to win in November and here's everything he's going to do. And actually, in terms of the substance of what was talked about, and in terms of this, not just by the speakers, but just by the people at the event who were all talking and gathering together, it was not actually like majority talking about Trump as sort of the center of attention as much as it was the things that I have talked about. And what I'll say is that, yes, I share your criticisms that many of the speakers and many of the people who showed up who aren't hardcore libertarians like us here are unfortunately very Zionist. The issue there is not so much what I would attribute to like malice and that these people are pro-war from some sort of like first principles, but rather this is the unfortunate result of propaganda. And propaganda is a hard thing to fight. The best way to fight propaganda is with the prognosis I gave of how to just create more libertarians in the first place, which is building relationships with people and having conversations with them over time. I'm not saying that this broad-based coalition that Rescue the Republic represents is without blemish or without flaw. But what I'm saying is that there's a lot of good there, and that I would rather not make perfect the enemy of the good, because we don't have a big enough of a libertarian anti-war that includes anti-Zionist coalition in our country right now, in our society, to really make a dent on the direction that this nation is going in. But if we work within this existing coalition that is rather big, sizable, and influential, and we decide that we are going to have a part in it, we're going to put, have our hand on the steering wheel as well, we at least are giving ourselves the opportunities for, and then repeat opportunities to have an impact, to have an influence on these people, and to plant more seeds of truth on these various subjects where some people have some of the right instincts, or they're at least good on an issue or two, and we can at least build from that. So that's, I guess, how I would respond to that.
Well, okay, so if you have time, I think Dana's got something she wants to say. If you don't, then that's totally understandable. Where can people find you?
Twitter at Biblical Anarchy is probably the best place to find me. I do a podcast, which if you just look up Biblical Anarchy podcast, Jacob Winograd should be able to find. I'll probably hang out for a couple more minutes and listen, but I'll probably sign off here in a couple minutes then.
Gotcha. Dana, go
I
for it.
wanted to announce that.
Well, we're not closing out yet, Chris. We're going to be going for a bit more. But go for it, Dana. You had your hand up.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Horshack from Welcome to Back Cutter right now. And I'm so sorry about my camera. I'm not sure what I've done. I've been trying to fix it this entire time. I'm
Likely a story. We know what's going on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, somehow I have like disabled it, and I've been in all my settings, and I don't even know how to fix it. But anyway, no, when you have a rally where almost every single speaker says vote Trump, that's called a Trump rally. Like, you can't have every speaker almost say vote Trump.
Hold on, is my church a Trump rally because I go to a church where almost every single person would say vote Trump? Like, I don't think it's because you have a rally or you have an event and a majority of the people there support a person that then you can just label the event a Trump rally. I think this is just a very reductionist analysis.
Does the church itself, does the pastor get up on stage and say vote Trump? Because if so, get the fuck away from that church. Holy shit, that's Antichrist material.
Luckily, no. My pastors are actually quite libertarian.
Right, but if you okay, as a person who's been in the system of all the politics, not even libertarian, I used to be a Republican, and when we have a rally and we say vote this person, that's what we're there for. It's that makes it a Trump rally, dude, all day long. No matter what you call it. I mean,
no,
you can't say vote for this. Vote for this person, vote for this person, vote for this person. But oh no, we're not there for that person.
Right, because that's what happened at the event, is that people stood up and repeated vote for Trump in different ways for 10 to 20 minutes. No, they talked about a lot of complex ideas. And then, some of them said, and, they connected those ideas to voting for Trump. But that's because that's unfortunately what the majority of America thinks is, the majority of one half of America thinks that, because not everyone votes, but people think you have to vote for one party or the other. And we have to work to change that. I think this is more of a matter of making perfect the enemy of the good. I don't like that a lot of people are supporting Trump, but the ideas that they are talking about, I keep pulling us back to the ideas, and it seems like you're too triggered by the fact that they're supporting Trump to hear anything else they have to say. And if that's how you are, well, then I'm sorry. But I think that if we just judge people based upon who they're voting for, that's why the Libertarian movement and Libertarian Party has been historically a failure, is because we're too judgmental. We have a Jonah complex, and we don't actually want to change people's minds. We just want to be right.
Oh, no, honey. We change people's minds and hearts every day.
I tend to agree.
We change people's hearts and minds every day. And we tell them that they want to be less government and they want to have government out of their lives. We do this every day. We've been doing it since 1972.
And you barely get 2 to 3% of the vote.
Yeah.
You barely get
exactly
2%
what
of the vote.
David Nolan, when they sat there in David Nolan's living room and burned their draft cards and said, we're going to start this new thing. We've been doing that, and we've been doing it every freaking day and
And you have
preaching
nothing
the
to show
message.
for it.
We were never supposed to win elections or none of that, and we were never supposed to sell our soul. In 2009, you wrote a letter to the party saying you were on the wrong path and you are trying to do this thing, and we don't do this. We stay bold, we stay libertarian, and we don't sell our principles. What I saw this weekend, we were like prostitutes on the corner. It was crazy. It was stupid. It was a mess. That was a mess.
You guys are both right.
Well, okay.
Right.
Let's Rose and then Chris.
Oh, really? Okay. I was gonna say you guys are both correct because look, I'm generally of the opinion that the Libertarian Party should be used for its original purpose, which was as a front for local organizing and education. And in line with that, like I'm mostly just focused on like my county party stuff. Like we're trying to restructure my county party to do things like educate the members on, say, how to do off-grid communication or how to obtain food for local farmers, preferably using under-the-table payment methods. Like, so I am fully sympathetic to that. We need to have like actual libertarian principles. We need to do actual organizing. However, like I also do see that, like, I think that there is some value if you're going to have a national party in trying to get, trying to negotiate with and get concessions from the two major parties, because the unfortunate fact is those are going to exist for the foreseeable future. So, like, if you can gain some bargaining power and you can get at least some concessions from the party that's likely to end up in office, like it's not without value, I don't think. So, like, I do see both sides of this. I struggle with it myself. Like, to what extent should we pander? Like, was bringing Trump to the national convention the right move? I was angry about it at the time, and I still am, I still think there's a lot more we could have accomplished there, like the shit we actually showed up to do, had the entire convention not been structured around having Trump there. But, like, if he wins and we actually do get some concessions from him, like, okay, I am prepared to eat my words about that. So, yeah, I do. I struggle with this. But... Anyway, go ahead, Chris.
Well, first of all, I'm very excited to announce that Matt Erickson blocked the Fountainhead Forum on Twitter today. So I had actually thought about, saying I'd love to have Matt on my show, but Matt obviously wants to stay in his own little echo chamber. So anyway, but I was there. I was there, and the Rage Against the War Machine rally was basically dead. Maybe 150 people were there. The other event, I can't really say. It was definitely an anti-Biden, anti-Kamala Harris, anti-Blue Team rally. So that doesn't necessarily mean it was a pro-Trump rally, but it certainly seemed that way finally. And I do want to stress the LP had a little tent with a table there, or had, a tent with a table there. Karen Ann Harless was there on Saturday. She said, I put out the Chase Oliver material. On Sunday, there was no Chase Oliver material. And, of course, Chase and Termott really didn't miss anything by not being there on Saturday. Because 150 people, I mean, in fact, you kind of wonder, somebody like Tatiana Moroz or Jordan Page even going to bother with an event that has 150 people. I doubt they would. Jordan Page came all the way from Eastern Washington. And then you come and show up and there's 150 people. That's not, you kind of say to yourself, well, was this really worth it? But I don't really know what to say about the direction of the party, but the way the LMC has functions, they're supposed to run a national convention, and they're supposed to support a vice presidential ticket. They've been so derelict on, they've certainly not done as much work to promote Chase's and Termott as they should have. I mean, I don't know what. I said it a while ago. It seems like to me the Mises Caucus just wants to resurrect the Ron Paul circle jerk, and what did that accomplish? Nothing.
Well, there has to be something. They wanted to reignite that energy that was behind all the excitement for Ron Paul all those years ago, but then I guess the question was, now what? Once they had done that, they took over the party, and it was a okay, now what situation. I was afraid. I honestly was afraid of that from the beginning.
Well,
You don't create a movement by living in the past.
Yeah.
well, so
I mean,
Go.
we were there. We did that. We've been there, done that. Like, I was part of Campaign for Liberty. I was a Liberty delegate for the Republican Party, and we were going to save the Republican Party from within for Ron Paul and do all the things, and it didn't work.
yeah,
That's why I became a fucking libertarian.
So I'm wearing a shirt that I got in college. It's like it's kind of too small for me now. It's really accentuating my tits. But like I'm wearing it right now just to make the point that I used to table for Yal. I used to pass out like Mises and IFJ and Cato and advocates materials, and I did the world's smallest political quiz and pointed people at points on the Nolan chart.
That.
Yeah. And I pointed people at points on the Nolan chart, and I've been there and done that, and literally got the t-shirt. So I know what I'm talking about when I say that the Libertarian movement, party, whatever, for a long time has had issues with selling out, because it really started to occur to me at some point, especially after my mother started to plant seeds of doubt in my head about it. She was like, it's real convenient that they're giving you all this very expensive equipment, all these materials, all this stuff, and they're just letting you hand it out. Who funded this, and exactly what do they expect to gain out of it? And like, the longer I thought about that, the longer I was real interested in who could be potentially funding it and why. So the primary thing that I'm bringing all of this up for is to say that the Ron Paul shit was sort of a lure away from. I'm gonna mute Chris here real quick because his car is sort of loud. The general vibe is that Ron Paul was a draw away from that because he seemed to be more serious. It seemed to be a more serious mentality than, we want limited government, and we're socially liberal and economically conservative, and something like that. I don't fucking care anymore. It's the same bullshit. But the general vibe is that, like, I was in that. I wanted Ron Paul. I did the Ron Paul 2012 campaign. I was involved. I was trying to get him in. I hated that they gave him the shaft at every available fucking opportunity. But at the same time, when I realized that Ron Paul, the one person who seemed to be worth it at all, was going to be given the shaft, and was then given the shaft, that was one of my first black pills into there is no political solution territory. And when I then found the last person, the last human, because the last actual write-in vote that I did, the actual official vote that I did the last time, was I wrote in Sonic the Hedgehog. But like, the last human I voted for was Ron Paul. And the last human I thought of voting for at all was John McAfee, because they both had a similar wavelength of, I'm going to say the thing that needs to be said, even if it's inconvenient to a significant amount of people's narrative. And I liked that, but it also didn't get them anywhere. And when, like, the people that did come out of that were eventually the way that they were, we get people like, Dan McAdams of the Ron Paul Institute for Alleged Peace and Prosperity saying that, well, if you don't have Scott Ritter on your stage at this anti-war rally, you won't get Ron Paul ever again. And it's like, well, okay, fine, I guess. we'll see if that pans out then for you, because we shouldn't have twice convicted child predators at our rally. But the general vibe that I'm trying to give off here is, I think that when it comes to it, if you don't have actual, like, Libertarian Party libertarians, at the least, headlining your rally, then it's worthless. And what they should have done is, if anything, is have a Rescue the Republic slash Rage Against the War Machine rally, combine the two shits and put them on the same fucking day. The idea that you should like pay all that cost to rent out the National Mall for 0 people to show up, and then the next day have nobody like Russell Dobular. I, I hate that I don't know how to pronounce a name before I say it. It feels disrespectful. But like the general thing is like he was the only person there that seemed to actually have a message worth a damn at the Rage Against the War Machine rally. And it would have been fucking awesome to see him on stage at Rescue the Republic. That would have been ace. I would have liked that, because then we would have heard the shocking gasps from a bunch of Trump supporters hearing from the one opposition that I heard from. Now, Dana watched the whole footage twice, and I watched it once. You can confirm or deny that basically, like, he was the only speaker that seemed to actually say anything directly against Trump. Am I wrong there?
No, not at all. You are 100% right.
And his speech was great.
Everyone else literally said vote for him.
I don't understand why they didn't just do one combined event as well. Like, why have 2 of them? Like, yeah, why have 2 separate events? I mean, if you want to try to get the right-wing populist crowd to support you, which, okay, I'm sure you're all familiar with my spiels on, like, why that's not necessarily a good idea, because, yeah, why trying to recruit them is a bad idea. But if you want to, like, you lure them in by having some speakers that they're going to like, and then you have based people like Scott Horton there, too, to try to sell them on the actual good messaging. Like, I guess I feel like they should have combined the Rage Against the War Machine with the Rescue the Republic rally. Like, why do they need to be 2 separate things, I guess? I'm not really clear on why that needs to be done.
Because they're done by separate organizations, and the separate...
Okay.
And the separate organizations contracted with separate people. But those separate organizations are run by the same people. And the separate organizations should have planned them for separate fucking days. They could have planned one of them for the day, like, that Saturday, and then, like, the next one for, like, 2 weeks later. And it would have worked better.
I mean, Angela helped organize both of them, so, yeah, I think that would have come up.
Yeah, but it didn't, because, like, really what she wanted, and this is what she really wanted, and I can tell because I think that she's vaguely narcissistic and that this would fall in with her patterns. But the general thing that I would say is she wanted a sort of libertarian slash libertarian-leaning Republican Woodstock. She wanted it to be something huge and multi-day that lasted long enough and had enough star power that she could say, look at this, wow, I did. And then, like, one of them was dead, and then the next one was basically not much better. Because, like, if you look at the hill shot footage of it from, like, later on, you can see there was basically still nobody there. So, like, the second one did sort of okay, because it had things like, you know, a Skillet concert. It had things like, and I'm muting you, Kareem, because I'm trying to have good audio quality in general, but, like, feel free to unmute once you start speaking. It had, like, a Skillet concert. It had, like, you know, all these people that are somewhat known. And it had people on who were, like, you know, part of Trump's cabinet. And it had Matt Taibbi of the Twitter files leaks and a bunch of shit like that. So, like, the general vibe that I'm trying to give off is that she wanted it to be massive because it's falling in line with her recent pattern of saying, look at this big thing I did. I did this big thing. Me. This is about me and my big thing I did. Relevance with a trademark symbol. And so she wants relevance. She wants to seem fucking awesome. She doesn't care about the actual practical results on the ground. That doesn't matter to her. What she wants is to make an impact and be known for something. And the actual resulting things that happen don't mean shit. And that's my problem with it. So she's willing to sell out for her ego. She's willing to sell out because the Trump stuff has more numbers behind it, and she can be that person who claims that she had more numbers involved in the libertarian movement than anybody else. But the actual fact of the matter is, it's astroturfed. It's astroturfed as fuck. And astroturfing does not work. It doesn't work from a Christian perspective. It doesn't work from a libertarian perspective. It only works from a strictly corporate perspective of trying to make your numbers look good before the next quarter ticks off, and you have to balance the sheets. It doesn't actually help. It just makes somebody feel good about themselves while donations and membership are dropping off like tits on a cancer patient was the first thing that came in my brain. I apologize, but
I have never heard of this phenomenon, but
yeah, right?
now I've got one more thing to be afraid of.
Yeah. Anyway, so Kareem, if you're still in the room, feel free to intro. If you're not, then we can do intros once you're back in the room.
None of us got intros.
Yeah. Okay.
I see
We'll do. So we'll
People know us by now, and if they don't, that's their problem, honestly. They can go and rewatch the earlier episodes and figure out who we are.
Yeah, I guess we'll do intros on the next one, and that'll qualify. But that's been my...
Angie had her hand up for a minute.
I didn't see the hand at all. Angie, go for it. Skype did not notify me.
Oh, I was just, when you were talking about the necessity of having, you know, 2 different rallies on 2 different days, and there were 2 different organizations, you know, it just popped into my mind that, I mean, that the whole thing is supposed to be coalition building, and they can't even build a coalition with the other organization that they co-own.
Yep.
I mean, that just speaks volumes as to how functional they actually are.
Little things. So, yeah, that's my general vibe. My general vibe is I think, and people, this is what I want responses to. Is this an actual play for greater libertarian like effect, or is this like closer to what I'm saying, and her narcissistic drive for greater numbers so that she can seem better in both her eyes and her vision in the public?
But she's not getting greater numbers. Like, what greater numbers is she getting?
I do think she's negotiating with the major parties, well, one major party in particular.
I do have to wonder if weather was a factor in the attendance on Saturday. I mean, with all the talk about the hurricane and all that stuff, I mean, that could have made a difference. Although it was a very sunny day on Saturday, though it was kind of a gray day on Sunday. So sunny day on Saturday and gray day on Sunday. But it did rain quite a bit on Friday.
Like, I'm not one of those people who wants to see this fail. Like, I really liked the idea of the anti-war coalition building, and like the first one was, I mean, all in all, I supported what what the first one did. I thought in general it was decent. I wish I'd been able to be there, but I couldn't for a variety of reasons. And then I heard about this one like 3 weeks before it actually happened, though. So, I mean, maybe I just didn't pay close enough attention, but I do not feel like it was well advertised. And it just, yeah, like there should have been hype about this for 6 months. Like, they should have been hyping it up. And also, they should have been like, I don't know, I get that they don't have a ton of money, but like maybe if you were like a delegate at the national convention, like you should have gotten discounted rates for travel. I don't know. Try to get a crowd there, for God's sakes. Figure out how to get your people there so that you actually have a crowd.
Well, yeah, but these people aren't punk enough to know how to build a pit. Kareem, you have words or just food?
I have both.
Ah.
'Cause I'm an ancient man.
No, you still do not have that title anymore.
I thought
you lost that title when you showed up late last time.
I rate the entire event as a complete waste of time from my own perspective. I didn't really accomplish anything or make do any networking by going there. I could have stayed home and gotten other things done.
Glad I did not travel there and spend a bunch of money then.
Kareem.
I'm just going to say it.
Dana.
Oh, I'm just going to say it. I live up north in the very far northern regions of Michigan, and we have had more people than the Saturday event and way better of a time up here and made more money probably because we didn't have the big overhead. Just for a freaking candidate fundraiser.
Hey,
Here.
they raised $15,000 for that, like 30 people.
And they paid out $30,000. That sounds like Club Keno all day long. I spent $30,000 to win 15, and I'm a winner. Yeah, that's called Club Keno all day long. Go Team Michigan Lottery. Yeah. So, and then like I'm still gonna say it no matter what Jacob said. Sunday was a Trump fucking rally all fucking day long, and it felt like a statist circle jerk the whole first 26 minutes. With the flag and the prayers and the magical pledge, the state prayer and the magical song and all the things. 26 fucking minutes in, we're still doing that. And then we had the first thing after that was the preacher that said, "You're all here and you're gonna go to heaven." I'm like, oh wait, I'm not there. I'm not going to heaven, I guess, because I don't even care about heaven anyway.
Darn it!
And then. Yeah, and then we had way more prayers, and apparently Russell Brand is Christian now, and
Oh, yeah.
stage with, Jordan Peterson and all the things.
I saw that.
Even Rob Schneider, who I love Rob Schneider. I'm gonna still watch his movies, but even Rob Schneider was like, "Vote for Trump, vote for Trump, vote for Trump." I heard "vote for Trump" like 5 million fucking times in 5 hours because I couldn't even see the version that included Skillet because that was not on there, so I had to watch it somewhere else.
Don't worry, you can listen to their music like every other you can just look up Sonic the Hedgehog and you'll find their music because like there's 800 YouTube fan made content. It's like a lot of their music is very vague in its Christianity and not very biblically rooted, and so like you can get like a good hero message from it, like that can apply to literally anything. It's like it's the same kind of vibe. If anyone wants to find out which Christian songs are actually biblically strong, just replace the word God with Jake and see if it still applies or if it sounds like a weird sappy love song in a pop context. Like I started doing that one day, and
that's always the case.
And I started doing that one day when I was in a church service, and it was one of the things that started making me walk away, is realizing how vague this shit is. I started to in my brain, and I had to really restrict myself and try to avoid smiling. In my brain, I was just like, "How great is our Jake? Sing with me."
I mean, that's something I would have done out loud. So.
Our Jake is an awesome.
Yes!
Doing that shit out loud, which is why my mom eventually stopped trying to force me to go to church.
It's so easy. But like, yeah, so just gonna say this because Dana brought up Skillet. That's what Skillet is a lot of the time. A lot of the time, it's not very biblically rooted, and you don't even have to know the Bible. And that's the point of it. If I'm gonna talk about Christian music, I'm gonna talk about something like Project 86, where they're like literally referring to Bible verses in their songs. But were you gonna say something more about that? And if you were, you can finish, and if not, Kareem can go.
Well, I mean, I was just going to say, and then the only music person that I liked that I was able to hear was Defiant, which, I mean, I like Parada, and I mean, the lead singer, I can't remember his fucking name right now, but he was with the other band. I mean, so, like, it's punk rock, so I'm not Christian, and I love punk rock, so Defiant was really nice to me. But, like, K-Pack, and I can't even remember the names, because I didn't even try to pretend. But no, every bit of it was Christian. There was a couple good words in between because I was like, yeah, I like that. Oh, but wow, we have to worship your God. So like that's the vibe I got from the whole thing was like all day long. I was like, oh, well, that's good. That's good. And then I was like, oh, you went there. Mm-hmm. After I got through the first 26 minutes of hell. Because like me and my husband, it took us an hour to get through the first 26 minutes because we were laughing our asses off. We're like, oh my God.
Damn.
And I'm not the only one.
And then there was like 2 or 3
I keep stopping.
Yeah, and there's like 2 or 3.
I'm like, I can't deal with any more of this shit.
Exactly. It took me like 8 hours to get through 5 hours. Yeah, but
well, at least it's a weight loss program. You know, you laugh your whole ass off.
Exactly. Yeah, and then like there was like 3 points where they brought Angela on stage or they mentioned Angela. I'm like, don't mention Angela. That reflects on all of us.
Like the one person from the Libertarian Party who showed up and got stage access, and it's Angela.
Yes, I'm like, we do not want to be attached to this. I was like, do not mention the Libertarian Party. Don't mention Angela. Just we're not part of this. We do not belong here. Yeah, so that's what I saw. I saw a lot of fucked up shit.
Yeah, well, and
That's how I will describe that.
and before
But Defiant was good.
Yeah. Before Kareem starts, I'll just say, like, I constantly get the feeling from libertarians, Angela especially in this case, and many other cases, that there's this show, this like series by a YouTuber called Film Cow. I think that's the person who did this, if I recall correctly, and it's marshmallow people. And these marshmallow people are, oh, I'm so bored, and then they like do a bunch of fucked up shit in the thing, and like a bunch of fucked up shit happens that's weird and chaotic, and it's the same person who made like Charlie the Unicorn, like, you know, and a bunch of and so like generally speaking, are llamas with hats? I don't know. I'll look it up in a bit. I'll try to reassess my meme bullshit. But like in the marshmallow people thing, there's this chick who's suddenly shows up and she's like, you know, I'm Triangle Lady, and they're like, shut up, Triangle Lady, you suck. And then she keeps on, you know, talking, and she keeps on, you know, fucking saying things anyway. And then eventually they start kicking the shit out of her, and she's like, they bowl her over and they're kicking the shit out of her, and she's like, yay, I'm involved. That's how I think of these people a lot of the time. Like, they're just like, yay, I'm involved, I have relevance.
I think we've all been Triangle Lady at least once, haven't we?
I try really fucking hard not to be, and like, I if anything, I do the opposite. I'm better not being involved if I don't have to be involved that way. Like when I was real young, maybe when I was in my early 20s, I would have been, you know, I've got my Triangle Lady brand shirt on right now, but like,
yeah,
at the same time, you know, I try this point. I know how that shit works. It's like, you know, fucking Charles Manson over there being like, that's a bigger jail than I just got out of. So
You are Charles Manson.
yeah, see? Well, so, and actually, fun thing for my game reviews, etc., I'll be including Charles Manson.
Mr. Dapperton loves your game reviews. He told me he
Yeah,
wants to
right?
hang out.
So they're still over. Like this Charles Manson thing was never very original, though. Like they need to get better. Like there are other people they could compare him to.
But like I'm gonna be including footage because it's also funny, and because if Death Grips does it, I can do it. Like, so I'll be including some of that. Like I'll be including that interview that was in the beginning of ex-military. Death Grips, like, beware, starts off with the Charles Manson thing. So it's like that. I'll be including a bunch of stuff like that, and also my sort of takedown of that gaggle of fucks. But like the general vibe is that, like, yeah, I think that they just wanted to be involved, and they didn't care how whorish they had to be in order to be involved. So I'll throw it to Kareem and then Chris. So that is if Kareem is done eating.
I'm an ANCAP man. ANCAP.
So what are your thoughts on the rallies?
Well, you
Rose
should
is
do it.
ANCAP man.
I'm still ANCAP man, and also ANCOM man.
So here's my thoughts on rallies. You should do it with a pocket full of shells and around your family, because that's the best way to do a rally.
Never speak to me again. Ever.
All right, that's fine. I'll talk to Rose Suede Man instead of Rose Leatherman.
All right.
Good there. I turned it inside out. But here's what I think. I've talked to Angela. I know Angela pretty well. I've had communications with her, you know, in different groups, in the Signal group as well as on Twitter. I talked to Austin. So I have a pretty good idea of what they're doing. They think, now, do I think Angela's malicious? No. Angela thinks, in my opinion, that by gaining favor of Deep State Dawn that will help make the libertarians more relevant. And by working with RFK, that'll do the same. And my problem with that is, if we go to early Rothbard, he recommended not working with these type of people, working with leftists. I also made the point that all you need is 3% to have a revolution, which is clear from the founding fathers. Not saying I like what they did because we're in this position, but it's clear that. So I said, hey, I've talked to her, and she said, I like the fact you're talking to other anarchists. I've told her that. I've told her what type. And Austin seems to be at least okay. He likes some of my things, like when I said like the union should embrace radical syndicalism. He didn't say no. He didn't say like, oh, this is bad. So I do think there's a potential to say like, hey, Angela, after this like Trump whole thing falls down and you see, hey, he was just telling you things, maybe he'll throw you a bone with Ross Ulbricht, but he's not going to end the drug war. So maybe you see that he's more loyal to me, a lady named Miriam Adelson than you, because she can give him more money. And she has her own agenda, which is very clear to me, which is to annex the West Bank. Then you'll see, hey, this is a very simple game. Donors pay politicians to get what they want. Politicians will go to try and be your friend, but then they will ultimately do what their donors want. It really comes down to that simple thing. They want to get your votes, but they also need funding, so they will do what their donors want. Everybody does it. It's not just Trump. And when they figure that out, I don't think it's necessarily bad to work. I would tell her, if you want to work with Republicans, work with some of the more liberty-oriented Thomas Massey type ones on the ground in the local area. We should attack this from the local area. We should get local wins. And I posted this on my wall. I posted this on Twitter. I posted this.
You still call it a wall. Why are you old? Sorry, I just had to say that. Go ahead.
Feed, whatever you want to call it. Because I like Facebook when it started out.
It did used
CIA
to be called
money?
a wall, didn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately.
And you could poke people, and you could do food fights with them too.
Yeah, like I felt like in the early ages of social media, there wasn't so much censorship. Like I'd be like, "Hey,
you could say whatever the fuck you wanted."
Yeah, you like YouTube. I'm like,
slurs at people, and yeah.
I used to watch Alex Jones on YouTube.
Not that I did that, but you could.
Yeah, now it's like, well, you posted some misinformation, and we're sorry. We want to protect our creators. I'm like, he cited literal stuff. But anyway. That's why I call it that. But
because you're hearkening back, you want to make mfga.
But we have the three most reliable.
Facebook great again.
Mfga.
Yeah.
Mfga is what you say when they put in the ball gag.
Yeah, but I think Angela's gonna find Trump either doesn't get elected or doesn't follow through on promises, and then be big sad, and the three most reliable sources that in the world, regardless of who wins, who cares what happens, this is the least important election. Because according to Ron Paul, who said the empire is over, not that it's ending, it's over. Keith has kind of alluded to that in his books. He doesn't overtly say it. And then we have some of the most reliable thing, which is remote viewers, who are people using quantum energy. I know Zulu would freak out if he saw this. Cream, you believe in this? You can use quantum energy to project images into the future that you can see. And remote viewers did this. The CIA admits this. The CIA did it to spy on the Soviets. According to thousands of them surveyed across the United States federal government will end soon. We can see that they're out of money already for disasters, and they will break apart Soviet style.
Yeah, thousands of people saying something definitely means it's true.
I'm having a hard time following. Wait. So they projected quantum images into the future, and now thousands of people are saying that they're going to break apart. Are these two separate thoughts, or
no? Okay, so if you take your phone and you type in theta brainwaves, or you type in like CIA theta brainwaves, and you get in a relaxed state, and you project something to try and see in the future or the past, you'll actually start to get images. When you practice this, it'll
imagination will start coming up with things.
Kareem is talking about the gateway process, and that's a whole nother stream potentially to discuss whether or not that's true. Because
the CIA studied all sorts of weird shit. That much is correct.
Okay, look, the CIA put a lot of money into occultism, and they didn't talk about it. And when they did, eventually they hid it in documents. So there's something there, more than likely. Plus, I do think, whether you think the remote viewers are correct or not, Ron Paul said it, Keith alluded to it, it's going to happen. In the near future, the United States will break up Soviet style, just like the Soviet Union did.
Well, that's inevitable, though. That's like one of those predictions that, you're bound to be correct, because all empires eventually collapse.
You're going to swallow that. I just gateway processed. Now you have to spit it out to prove me wrong. So
that would just be rude.
But they said the near future, soon it will happen.
All empires collapse, and if we're going to go into quantum physics, I want to be on the Michael Crichton timeline, where we go backwards with it, like his book. I want to go backwards into the medieval times, because that seems like more of my timeline than this here. Like this timeline, I don't even know if I belong here.
Yeah, I don't know
crazy.
if I do.
Well, I'm a creep.
I was burned as a witch back then, but that's cool.
Well, I'm a
because
I was gonna say,
being burned as a witch would be better than this weird shit we live in.
I don't know where I belong.
In the near future, we're going. In the near future, I think that'll happen. So the election doesn't matter.
But no elections matter.
I could have told you that.
In my lifetime, no election has mattered. We all live the same thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's the red team or the blue team.
Yeah.
They grow the government. They grow it, the size and scope and all the laws, and they make it worse for the humans. And it's always been the most important election, but it's never changed my world.
Correct.
That's why I ignore it. That's why I live up here in the north, and we ignore the hell out of the government until they come knocking or take your shit, or,
Yeah, but here's the thing. What I think matters is there'll be different. I think soon there'll be different, like little. I don't know what they'll be. That's the big question. It's not that it'll happen. I know everybody knows it'll happen. It's kind of what will take place next. And I think it'll be like, little cities working together, little towns and stuff like that. And the big question is, how do we want to orient that so that it works better than what we had before? And so that we don't have this massive thing popping up.
When an empire dissolves and it's been using its hegemony in order to inflict might across a significant swath of the globe, and then that empire collapses, those people want fucking revenge. If this place collapses without the collapse simultaneously of the other world powers, it's not going to be tiny little thingies getting along and kumbayaing. It's going to be bricks.
Sadly, yes.
You know what?
We need to build community beforehand, so we at least...
Yes, it will be.
Yes.
But first of all...
think about how the Balkans threw out the Turks. Then they had a war against each other.
Yeah, it's like that's what these people want. They constantly talk about Balkanization as though it's a good thing, but like it always results in tyranny. And Balkanization is the reference used for a reason, because the Balkans fucking suck.
Yeah, they're not good. But here's the thing: in
North
Carolina,
the Balkans are probably the best part of Europe right now.
I don't know, but look here. Here's the thing. Let's take the disaster in North Carolina. I'm not going to say it was HARP, but maybe. But I can't prove that. So there you go. But I will say, what I do know is I've seen multiple things where people the federal government's preventing any help. They're saying you can't fly a drone down there. You can't fly anything down there. Ian Smith reported that today too. I know I'm not the biggest fan of him, but the people in a disaster can't get help. I'm not saying everything be kumbaya. There's no such thing. But I'll take a scenario where there's a disaster and your neighbors can help you over the FEMA not showing up and then attacking you for doing that.
Well, FEMA stopping people from helping, actively preventing people from bringing you food aid. People need to freaking just fight back against the state in their area, since not only are they not helping, they're actively preventing help from.
So anything would be better. Anything.
No, that's not true.
It wasn't much better during Katrina, and
exactly.
And, I have been convinced since the World Trade Center that a large portion of the population does not want good They want to have charlatans in positions of power. They want to be gaslighted. They want to be lied to. And that's why I really don't feel sorry for a lot of people on this planet. I do believe that leadership can be a very good thing when it's positive. But
Well,
but
there's
most
natural,
but
like,
leadership,
there's
but there's hardly any
voluntary
leadership
hierarchies.
anywhere anymore. There's hardly any leadership anywhere anymore, and you know, I don't know if they really want leadership. I think they just want to have demagoguery or whatever.
Well, most people don't actually want to be in charge of anything. So voluntarily deferring to someone who you think is more fit to lead is one thing, but no, I don't disagree. People are so hopelessly statist for the most part that they just kind of want someone else to take care of everything for them, and they haven't seen anything. They haven't seen they have not seen anything working differently because, as you've seen, even in a disaster, like, the state actively prevents communities from helping one another. So, yeah, we've all been thoroughly conditioned to be dependent on the state.
I think one place where there is very often very positive leadership is in sports. I mean, coaches who win and coaches who know how to motivate people to focus on a goal. And
yeah,
granted, it's not really important, but you do see real leadership in sports. Interesting, Left. That was another thing too. When I got out of this, I just heard Riley Gaines speak. She is truly an American hero, and she told about what happened. She previously spoke in San Francisco and talked about the harassment she endured there. She is a hero, if you know who I'm talking about.
I do, yeah.
So, real quick, I think the rallies, because that's the primary subject. I think the rallies, generally speaking, I don't oppose rallies, but I want them to rally with good people. And I want those good people to be consistent. I want a good rally should have a backbone of the same overarching message. The reason Occupy Wall Street initially did so well, and the reason it endured and did so well going forward, is because it did not have this weird, inconsistent bullshit until much later on when it was nearing collapse. Originally, the message of Occupy Wall Street was very fucking simple. It was, fuck those sons of bitches who get richer while you get poorer. They're affiliated with the ones in charge. It's a big club. You're not in it. Fucking occupy their shit. Stop up the works. Fuck them up. And don't say, don't take no for an answer. Eventually, they even started to do really cool shit. Like, one of the things that I started to notice that started to push me away from libertarian circles, in terms of, like, political activism, and start pushing me toward anarchist circles and, what I consider libertarian purism, was the idea that some of these little fucking mealy-mouthed little worms didn't like the idea of Occupy Wall Street protesters buying the debt on debt consolidation markets of individuals and then forgiving it. They said, that's going to fuck the economy. No, it's not. These things are, like, directly and fully traded all the time. The difference between it is that instead of trading for the purposes of continued leeching and for the purposes of continued debt enslavement, the trade would happen and then it would be forgiven. Ooh, the horror! Somebody bought something and then threw it away. We can only do that if we're Exxon. So the general vibe is, if you want to have a thing, say, that Target bad, these people not deserve Target badness. Help Target get down while we come up. Have simple, concrete things that you can rally behind so that you can pull in people from all over the spectrum, and then make sure that you fucking kick out the co-opters, the entryists,
yes,
the freeloaders. Because otherwise, what you'll get is Rage Against the War Machine being affiliated with open, pro-war, like tankies, like Humanity for Peace being a sister rally affiliated with Open Strasserites, the whole thing being affiliated with like twice convicted child predators like Scott Ritter, the continued impact of all of the people who are associated with their stupid little fucking political like pet projects, and the general vibe that I want to give off is, if you don't weed those people out, if you don't keep your message consistent and prevent people from coming in and hijacking it who don't actually hold your message, or whose presence would be like completely detestable to your message, then you're not rallying. All you're doing is building up a temporary political upswell that you can use for your own purposes, and then it dissolves and dies, and everybody walks away with their money, their political power, their additional followers, their podcast subscribers, their book sales, and it doesn't fucking matter. So that's my thing. Make it matter.
Always an issue.
Well,
like, oh, good.
Go ahead, Rose.
I would like to say that what?
I was gonna let Rose speak because it's been a bit.
Saying, I was just saying, Occupy Wall Street started out so promising because you had people from all over the political spectrum there, and I think this genuinely freaked out the ruling class. So of course they quickly started sending people out there just to infiltrate and derail, and before you knew it, you had everyone arguing over stupid shit, and you had people walking away in frustration. Like, this is something that anyone who organizes any sort of movement needs to be aware of. We need to recognize when someone is just there to obviously be disruptive and to derail conversations and to keep everyone distracted by pointless infighting. Yeah. But I mean, of course, then you're just going to get labeled, some kind of fascist who won't let everyone have their say. So it is
Okay.
It's kind of a no-win situation.
I've been called a fascist hundreds of times. I'll be called it thousands more. I don't care. But like, just real quick, what I'll also say is that general vibe is the reason that things like this dissolve, is because of that. But it's also the general vibe that the elites were scared shitless. And then I'll let Chris talk, and then Kareem. But the general thing is that I want to say is, before the pandemic, and this is something I wrote in articles back then, right? Right before the pandemic, what did we see? The world is on fire. The yellow vests are marching. They're tearing down Europe. They're saying, don't fuck with us. We're going to unionize and we're going to upend your system. And it was working. The domestic protests over police brutality, the domestic protests over warrantless spying, the protests in China over bad factory working conditions and surveillance and spying, and all this shit was cropping up everywhere. You had South Africa, the Arab world was up in arms. People were fucking them up. Awesome. But the elites couldn't have that. The elites needed some way to scare the people, and in the words of that motherfucker from V for Vendetta, remind them why they need us. And in that particular case, what did they suddenly have? A virus that was funded by the government. And that virus,
pandemic and riots.
Then that virus spread globally. And then suddenly they had an excuse for what? Surveillance. You couldn't protest. You had to lock down. You had to stay in. You had to do what you were told, or you would be pepperballed. You had to do all of this shit. You had to mask up so that they could learn how to scan your face when you were masked up, so that when you protest with a mask, they could still know who you were. They did all of these measures to make your phone more easy to track, to reduce your privacy on social media, to make it more obvious who you are, where you are, what you think. And they did all of this right affiliated with ID 2020, which is an ID system for the U.S. fucking government to universally track people, and also UN affiliated networks and all that sort of shit. And then they immediately started to do shit like shut down the money of protesters for the truckers and shit like that. They started. They proved that they could. They proved that they could shut down Russia, an entire fucking country. They proved all of this stuff, and now people years later don't connect those dots and say, well, what if we had just kept protesting? what if we didn't lock down? What if we said
Mhm.
no? And so, like, Chris,
I said
get
this back then. No
Yeah,
one
yeah.
But
fucking
And
listened. It's so
I-
frustrating.
I-
And now they're
Cr-
having these thoughts.
It
I'm
is.
Yeah,
fucking idiot.
and
You
also-
could've done this. Why didn't
I
you do this back when I told you to?
I want to get Chris's impressions though, because his hand is up. So
Oh,
we'll do that, and then
Yeah,
Kareem.
you
Go
know,
for it.
it's interesting because I know a guy who said the coronavirus was all about foiling the Hong Kong protests, and you know, let's also acknowledge the 2010s were probably the greatest decade in the history of the world as far as economic growth, prosperity. I mean, bringing people in really poor places out of poverty. And one thing I learned, you know, when the pandemic bullshit happened, the misery falls to the bottom, and the poorest people in the world got hit the worst by it. But you know, I look back to, obviously I just go on what I hear about it, but Ayn Rand's movement was going very well until she blew it up in 1968. I mean, I wonder what would have happened if it hadn't been for a silly schoolyard spat with Nathaniel Brandon, what kind of impact it would have had. But she destroyed it, and now it's a complete clown show. I don't know what happens, because movements seem to lose their focus, but some of them stick around longer than others. And I've seen some organizations look like they were going over to the bad side, and then they kind of came back. The Foundation for Economic Education is has been around a long time, and they've had their moments where they seem to flirt with not such good people, but they seem like they're doing a lot of good work. So it's really complicated. But I wouldn't, you know, discount single issue politics. You know, Riley Gaines pointed out this evening. She says, "I disagree with Martina Navratilova on almost everything, but we both agree that only women should be playing women's sports."
Okay.
You know, so I said, "Yeah, good for you." You know, it's
Well, that
yeah.
kind of language specifically, I strongly disagree with typically what that is. So, maybe that's a debate for another day. But what else?
Maybe that is, but you know, part a freedom philosophy has to be based on the fact that reality is reality. A cat is a cat, a dog is a dog, and if you're just gonna play it deuce and wild,
Are
with
women and
everything-
men different species?
No.
Then that's not a good analogy. We'll do this on some other day.
Yeah, that could be a whole podcast in itself.
So,
For
Kareem,
sure.
what were you gonna say?
First I was going to say in the movies, they put predictive programming. So when people are watching a movie like, hey, isn't that cool? I'm like, hey, isn't that what they're going to do? And they're like, no, Kareem. Or in a video game, like, that's what the elites are telling you they're going to do. Like, no, come on, man. All you do is watch Alex Jones and these people and talk about Farnese and the Rothschilds. Like, you're weird. I'm like, I am. But, like, I'm actually jacked and you're evil and you're just, and like, I do well for myself and you don't want to look into anything and you just sit in front of CNN and be scared. Anyway.
Hey, some of them are in front of BBC. Some of them are in front
or
of Fox News. Yeah.
Hey, man, I watch enough Fox News to know that Iran's going to attack my Padunkadunk.
Yeah, we don't watch the mainstream media. We watch Daily Wire and Fox News and all these institutions that are actually the new mainstream, but we want to act like rebels when we're not. What were you going to say, though?
Matt Walsh is raging against the machine. Anyway, what
He's
I was
raging
going to say,
something.
though...
Maybe a boner around a high school.
I mean, the guy protests pronouns in people's bios. Like that's like so rebellious.
Stop having you shooter.
He's
Anyway,
really fighting back against the power by doing that.
Yeah, he's defeated evil. Anyway, what I was gonna say in relation to this with rallies, when it comes to that, is I think the definitive line, and there is a definitive line, should be that if I guess I should say this. I don't really care if fascies want to hang out with other fascies because they're not good people anyway, and all of them can be over there. But I don't think anarchists, unless there's a very, very extenuating circumstance, which maybe you can argue is nuclear war or genocide. But aside from those, anarchists should not. How am I going to phrase this? Shouldn't work with any authoritarians and should only work with anti-state radicals and cousin philosophies. So if you have a libertarian Republican, not Austin Peterson, but like someone who's like that but doesn't believe Japan should have been bombed, a Georgist, a libertarian socialist, like a Rojava type dude, or just a real classical liberal or a constitutionalist or a minarchist. People call them minarchists too. Then I'm fine with working with those people because I think those people are generally pretty good and they're almost there. And then I think we should have more cooperation between people who are anti-state radicals, ANCOMs, and syndicalists, and CAPs, obviously, mutualists, all those type of people. That's the way to do actual unity because we have the aspect of decentralization there. Nobody wants to actually control anybody. The problem is, and somebody told me right at Rage Against the War Machine because I was there, I had a sign, and I was marching next to a Marxist dude who was like a real big dude too. And then literally we stopped there, and I actually was right next to, it was an insane moment. I was right next to Scott Horton. I was right next to Reed Coverdale. I was right next to a bunch of people, and literally, and Ben Heckman, who Jeremy knows. And actually, someone turned over and said to me, "Hey, Kareem, these Marxist people, they know that if the president at the time, I think it was Biden, wasn't in the White House, they'd be in there, and they do the same thing." And I said, "Yeah, the Marxists." Keith has talked a lot about this, where elite theory tends to always move upward. It doesn't move downward. There's no so that's why the tankies, the fascists, the people who are authoritarian leftists. I don't think there's any way to make left unity work or right unity work. It's not a good idea anyway. If we're going to do rallies, we have to work with other anarchists or anti-state radicals, especially for the fact that, right after I got away from that crazy dude, I ran literally into Scott Horton, and then 10 minutes later ran into Daniel McAdams.
Back buffer,
Daniel was
bone,
okay, but
have to wait
Daniel's pretty good, but Daniel sometimes falls into the Putin, Orban, cool dude. Then I ran into Jill Stein, and actually met Jill Stein. That's why I like Jill Stein. But I think the best thing we can do is literally the best thing work with anybody who says, "Hey, I don't think the state should dominate people. I don't really care what label you are, or if you are a label, that's fine. And I think we should keep it at the neighborhood village level because that makes sense. Because if you have a super, I know people say, why does decentralization matter? Because if you have a super central thing and you can control millions of people, someone's going to say, oh, yeah, I can control millions of people. I can, even if it's something insignificant like giving them health advice like Fauci or giving them financial advice like Bernanke, someone's going to say, yeah, I know what's best. And they're going to take the reins of power. So if we can do those things, I think that's the best way to go. The problem is Angela now is going to find out the hard way. Unfortunately, RFK, Vivek, or as Shiva calls him, Booby Kennedy, and Trump are nothing more than convenient, and Russell Brand too, or convenient controlled opposition.
Russell Brand.
Well, you want to know what's annoying? Because I've said the same thing over and over. We need anarchist unity. What's really annoying is there have been on numerous occasions where I've had an easier time talking to the fucking tankies than the so-called self-professed ANCOMs. I guess, look, ANCOMs have an issue with run-of-the-mill shit libs who think that, or like at best, they're like Bernie Bro style dem sucks. Who think that they're ANCOMs in the same way that, you know, on the libertarian right, you get basic rightoids or cultural or statist conservatives who think that they're ANCAPs or right libertarians. So, okay, this is a problem.
And fascists. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, like I've had this same experience, like that you had at the anti-war rally. Like, yeah, I guess maybe it could just have to do with the types of people who are attracted to the ideology. Like when it comes to the leftists, like the the Marxist types tend to be the more mature types, is how I'd put it, because they tend to be sticklers for actually reading theory. So it kind of weeds out the people who aren't willing to actually read it and put in the work. Whereas the barriers to entry for being an ANCOM are very low. I've noticed that they don't really, they don't put nearly as much emphasis on actually reading the theory. So you get a lot of most baby anarchists are ANCOMs or ANSINs.
Okay.
So it is really annoying because, like, I would much prefer to work with ANCOMs, and there are a lot of cool ones, but, like, unfortunately for every cool one I know, there are, like, probably 10 others who, I could say the same about right libertarians and ANCAPs as well. So I'm trying to be fair here, but when it comes to building anti-war coalitions, I have had a lot more luck trying to talk to the statist leftists, and it's really annoying.
Well, ANCAPs, I think there's a problem with theory in that. ANCAPs, like, literally, I've talked to Jack sometimes. He's like, we need an economics test for our candidates. We need this. Like, literally, Jeff Douglas and Michael Heiss in the beginning were, like, calling people, like, what's your favorite Austrian economic? I'm like, please don't do this. Just, like, just be like, hey, bro, what's up? Don't, like, we're in 2 minutes.
No. A litmus test is a good thing to have, actually.
Here's what I think. There's a level where theory is good, where I like it. But then there's also the fact that if I go and tell people theory, because I've knocked doors, they don't care. If I knock doors to win even a local election, they want to know, like, what are you going to do tax-wise stuff. And if you can say, look, I see ANCOMs building more cooperatives than ANCAPs.
Yes. And they have better messaging because they don't do stupid shit like say that people who price gouge are economic heroes. Okay, look. I did this rant yesterday at a LPNY platform meeting, but libertarians are terrible at messaging because they do stupid shit like what I just described. So we could learn a lot from the anarchist left about how to actually appeal to working class people.
But who cares about theory? At the end of the day, theory's fine
if you implement it properly and you actually tie it to real world issues. You need to actually tie it to real world issues.
And the reason I still watch Anarch is not because, like, you know, I like what he said to me, but
the guy that banned you.
We started getting along again, so that's a good thing. So maybe I'll be back, but because I talked to people around his circle and they're like, "What did you do?" Like he wasn't. But here's the thing: he has a thing called Cooperation Tulsa, so he's building a co-op. If you can say, "Here's a co-op I built," here's a union I built, here's a society I built, people say, okay, that works. If you're just like, here's theory, read Hayek, nobody, people are like, I don't care. Like, you don't care. Like, and to be fair, sometimes I don't want to sit there and just read Hoppe. That's not gonna do anything in the long run. Why not build something? And I will say this: the ANCOMs are actually building something. People can make jokes. And the tankies and the ANCAPs make jokes. Ha ha, community garden. Ha 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 ha, community garden. I'm like, first of all, that's a way to sustain yourself. Second of all, that's the start of something. If you can, and it took the Zapatistas, people forget, 50 years to do it.
Yeah, community gardens can easily be part of the counter economy that we want to build. So I fully support that.
So
I'm all for communes, even though I don't think I'd move into one because I haven't. Every single one that I've ever encountered has been run by people who are fucking insane. So,
real quick though, like I'll say this, because first off, we got 12 minutes left, and then I got a family call. But first off, we got people in the chat, so I want to address their comments, and then we'll do some sign-offs after that. I forgot to do that this whole fucking time. Shout out to Chris Bennett and Cecilia Juarez, who've been here the whole time just talking to Air. Hello, I am Air. But the general thing, like, I'm wearing this shirt for a reason, because I know how ineffective this shit is. I had my table, I had the books, I had them all laid out. I could tell people lines from economics in one lesson that I had memorized by heart. I could talk about how, you know, as long as we have the free market, we'll be fucking jizzing in each other in no time. But the general vibe was you're
really selling it, the free market thing.
Nobody gave a shit about my books. Nobody wanted to sit there and, like, like read a book to find out if they wanted to finish reading the book enough to pick up a free copy of After the Welfare State. Nobody cared. It didn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter.
Can I ask a question? How long do you think that it would take to see a change if you're planting those seeds out there? How long do you think it should take to get a movement started and growing and to see some sort of result?
I think it matters the seed, the soil, and the gardener. So the first thing you got to worry about is the gardener itself. If you ain't got your shit together, who's going to fucking listen to you, right? That's a good question to ask. If people like look at you and they see somebody who's allegedly right, but he doesn't have his shit together, she doesn't have her shit together, they don't, whatever, thing doesn't have its shit together, then we can not get to the point later on where that person is going to be respected enough to be a leader. You have to lead yourself first. You have to be good enough in your own life that people want to listen to you, want to follow you. Most of these people ain't shit. And that was one of the reasons Rechtenwald lost, because of his presence with that gummy. He was not put together. He did not do a good enough job representing himself. And he had already done a good enough job alienating a significant enough chunk of the people there that the slight bit he needed to not, lose was not available to him. He lost because of himself. And so
that could have been laughed off, I feel like, if he'd been a little more popular before that.
Yeah.
You could laugh off the gummy incident.
Yeah. But like
a fun thing that we all
Rechtenwald
we
cannot.
still do, because it's never gonna not be funny.
Right.
But
But like
His temper kind of a fight.
I like
I want
him.
to.
I don't.
I'm actually
He flipped
talking
out
more
on
about
Jeremy.
like the Ron Paul stuff, Jeremiah.
I
When
recognize
you get to
that.
where, I mean, if you look at like with the like what the progressive movement has done, I mean, they've been working at this for over 100 freaking years to get their changes implemented. And here we are here complaining because, 15 years ago we passed out some books and some people didn't read them. I mean, is that really what we're doing here?
But here's the thing. What I'm talking about, the progressives weren't like handing out theory either to a significant degree. The radicals were. The Black Panthers were funding their radical newspaper by like selling copies of Maoist literature, which is a funny way to do that. But like there are people who've been like in radical circles really making the change there by handing out small, easily digestible pieces of theory. But see, that's the other thing. They didn't just hand out theory. They weren't just tabling at an event that was completely unrelated and doing nothing. What they were doing was they had a party. They were being the good gardener. They were actually building their movement and like doing what they needed to do in order to say, yeah, see, so this is why we want to do it, and come join us doing it. As Dana would say, they were doing the damn thing. So, like, the general vibe of it, you need to be a good gardener. Ron Paul would have been a good example of a good gardener, but a significant amount of the people in the Ron Paul revolution were shit-ass gardeners. And so they latched on because it gave them something to do, but they didn't actually follow through. They didn't become the good gardeners. There was no Black Panther Party, and the Tea Party eventually got co-opted by old people who hate blacks. So the general thing that, like, I could say is the stuff that I was doing was not effective, partially because I was not a good gardener. I didn't have my shit together. I was just some fucking college student with a table and a bunch of literature that I, understood the surface level of. And I had read it all, but, like, I didn't know enough, I was a bad gardener. So what I'm saying is that the soil needs to be like ready for it. My tiny little community college was not ready for it, and it was also in the wrong area with a fuck ton of statists and very little resistance to that. And the people receiving the message need to actually be willing to do stuff, and they weren't. Like a lot of so when I'm saying that the tabling was not effective, what I'm saying is that it wasn't effective partially because of me, and partially because nobody gives a shit about theory. They want to know what you're doing and how they can get active.
Yeah.
When we were gonna Ron Paul, C4L, take over Republican Party and all that back in the day, we also took care of our community. We We changed the regulations. We did this stuff. Like Sheboygan County is pretty badass if you live in the rural areas, because we fought for those rural areas and we told them to go away. We got rid of the zoning. We got rid of the dog catcher. We got rid of all that stuff. And so we may not have taken over the Republican Party, but we did that stuff. So that's where, like, I was like, okay, cool. And then I became a libertarian back in the day and did all that other stuff. But even then, the Libertarian Party used to be badass. Like, it did. Like, not even so many years ago. Like, protests and fighting the government and getting on the forums and doing what David Nolan said. Like, it was never about winning. It was never supposed to be about fucking winning.
It was supposed to be about organizing. So, yeah.
Yes. They used to shear
like
fucking sheep. Like, they used to literally go in front of the tax office with a sheep and shear it on tax day. I mean, I wasn't around back then. That would have been really cool days. But what we've done is, here in our area, my husband always says, I'm better at creating anarchists than I am at creating Libertarian Party members.
Yes.
Because I convince people voting sucks, nothing, and everybody's like, well, if I'm going to do the message, why would I join the party? I'm like, well, do whatever you got to do. Do the message. I don't care what you do. Just do the message. Do the thing. I mean, and we've created this community where we extract people from bad situations. I got my kitchen remodeled on half of it because they're like, you do so much for other people. We're going to fucking help you do this. I mean, that like humbled me the hell out of me. And they did it on one of my holiday weekends. They did it on Mabon, which is a thankful weekend. It's something it's when we're supposed to be thankful for the harvest. And I got my kitchen done that weekend. It was like totally amazing. And I'm not going to cry, but I mean, it just shows me that we've done this thing and it's bared fruit, you know, and that's what you got to do in your communities. You got to actually build it, fight the fight, do the thing. If you're at the goddamn gas station and you're sitting there pumping your gas and somebody's like, oh, well, gas is high. Well, you see, and you teach them all about how you can have your own community and you have to just ignore the state. You might have to pay this gas tax if you want to go places, but we can do it our own way. And that is.
Have you heard about the petrodollar?
Exactly. Oh, all fucking day long. I will sit there and tell them how the petrodollar. I can have a 10-minute conversation at the gas pump about the petrodollar and why it's there and the Bretton Woods Agreement and how 1972 happened. And
if you can find someone who's willing to listen, like, I mean, sometimes you can red pill random people. Like I at one point, like I had to bring my car into the dealership. And they had a shuttle, so the guy drove me to work, and we were having this discussion on the way about eminent domain and how it displaces already disadvantaged people from their homes. Because, like, he was a guy who lived, like, in the inner city where I work, and he's talking about how, like, he knows people who are at risk of losing their houses if they do this stupid highway remodeling project. And, yeah, I'm like, and he's like, did you know that in China they have like the barriers are a lot higher to being able to seize people's homes than they are in the U.S.? Like, that doesn't make any sense. How is it that China has better protections on people's homes than the U.S.? I'm like, yeah, no, eminent domain should not be a thing. They should not be allowed to kick you out of your home. Like, they should have to pay you for it. And if you don't want to sell, they're either going to have to make you an offer you can't refuse, or they're going to have to find alternatives.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem with things like the Keystone Pipeline.
So, all right, this might be a good theory discussion to have probably Sunday evening. Like to generally talk about how to be a good gardener, how to plant good seeds, how to find good soil. I think that's a good prompt, Angela. Like, I don't mean to overshadow that. I hope I answered that as honestly and reasonably as you needed. But, like, the general vibe, yeah. Like, so the stream needs to draw to a close. The general vibe that I have, just to give final thoughts on the rally, and then folks can also give their final thoughts. But, like, try to keep it relatively short. I'm sure my dad's getting impatient. We do a weekly call every week, my father and my sister and I, and we shoot the shit. We talk about the recent happenings. So the general thing is, I want actual rallies. Instead of Rage Against the War Machine, I want them to rage against the machine. You know, if we're gonna talk about an anti-war rally, just have it be an anti-war rally instead of this weird coalition with a bunch of people who aren't anti-war. And don't do it don't do it as like some sequel to like Defeat the Mandates, and then at the same time have the same organizers run an organization that promotes the guy who was behind the mandates. It doesn't make any sense. I want to see consistency. I want to see principle. I want to see people moving in the right fucking direction for once. And that'll be my point. And then we'll go Rose, Dana, Chris, Kareem, Angela.
Oh, well, okay. I won't keep you too much longer from your family call. So I'll just say if you want to talk to me further for some reason, you know where to find me. You can find me on Facebook, Discord, wherever. Odds are if you've encountered me already, I've probably been an asshole to you. But yeah, feel free to send me a friend request if you'd like to interact. Otherwise, good night, everyone. Good discussion.
Thank you. Thank you for showing up. Dana.
Well, you guys heard all my feelings about the rally. I got a little heated earlier. But I agree. Rally should mean something. And if we ever think that this government is going to end wars because we rallied somewhere, I would like to remind you that in the 1960s, people filled up the mall, like filled it, like huge rallies in the 1960s that didn't have all this pomp and circumstance. And we may have gotten out of Vietnam, but we've been at war most of my life, and I am 52, and we've been at war. The only way to stop war is to tell children, don't join. Convince your service people to put down their arms. Tell them to stop. Because until then, it's just going to keep happening, and we're going to keep paying for it. So all we could do is light a candle and pray to whatever God you believe in, and hope for the best.
But there was a Skillet concert, and that means it's better.
I still haven't listened to Skillet. I still don't even know who the hell they are. But I did learn a lot about Christian rock and rap and things this rally. Yeah, yep. I mean, right on. Again, Defiant. I like them. That was the high point of the entire 2 days of the rally that I watched. But yeah, we just... Again, community, talk to your people, talk to your people, talk to your people. If you see some little dude, I mean, my son, before I get done, I'm going to really quickly, my son, he was ROTC. I was anti-war. I'm a pacifist. I'm anti-war. My kid was ROTC, wanted to do it, did it for 4 freaking years, joined the army, all the things. And finally, my teachings kicked into him, and he can contest to this. When he was on the grenade field and he had the grenade in his hand, and he said to his sergeant, he goes, if I throw this, it's going to kill everyone, even people who haven't even shot at me. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I think I know what my mom was talking about. And he put the pin back in. He put it back in the box. And they put him for a month at Fort Bragg in this mental hospital, tried to get me to be part of the family conference to convince him he wanted to be in the army. I'm like, I'm the wrong mom to talk to, dude. And I'm not going to be able to help you. And about a month later, they finally released him. He was a general discharge and all the things, but he thought he wanted to go bomb people. And he finally listened to my shit when it kicked in. And that was amazing. And that's my own kid, you know, where I thought I was going to lose this. I'm like, he's going to die, you know, but so you just got to keep hammering. You just got to keep hammering every day. And that's all you can do. And that's all I have to say.
We got to talk about that and get a bunch of people on to talk anti-war shit specifically at some point, too. Chris.
You know, I describe my position as not necessarily anti-war, but just strict neutrality. I don't want us involved in things that don't interest us. And, you know, I do have friends who are fighting Maduro in Venezuela, and Daniel McAdams loves Maduro. And I have, you know, friends who are very much against Russia taking over Sakartvelo, or as we call it, Georgia. When it's hard to be neutral when you visit countries after you've visited a country, but you know, and if I was a liberty activist in some small country and the CIA offered me money, I'd probably take it. But anyway, my show is Fountainhead Forum. I've done 223 shows on BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, and YouTube. We've had some interesting talks. I'm in the process of moving, unfortunately, right now, so I've kind of put that on hold. It's another mess, but I'm really getting serious about downsizing my life and maybe going to Argentina or something. It was cool getting to see Riley Gaines this evening. She's actually pretty short for a swimmer. If you're a swimmer, it helps to be tall. I was impressed. She certainly works hard, and I hope the Liberty, we can have a better Liberty movement after all this. I don't know what the LP is doing. I don't know why the LP does what it does anymore. Sorry, stupid motorcycle drove by, but maybe someday I'll get on one of these calls at home. But I'm going to go to the Doge meetup if it's still. Yes, we have a Doge meetup in Austin. Yes, Dogecoin.
Doge meet. Oh, wait, that's
yes,
still a thing?
Yes, it's still a thing. So
I sold mine.
I don't know where we're going here. It's Jesus fucking Christ, I have a goddamn motorcycle. So I don't know where the world's going to go, but Trump. Apparently, there was an announcement that Trump might actually consider ending citizenship-based taxation, which means if you're an American citizen, you can go anywhere and not worry about the IRS, which that would probably get me to vote for him more than anything else, because once America collapses, it'd be cool if I didn't have to renounce my citizenship. So I hope maybe I can be a little less black-pilled, but it's hard not to be cynical anymore. But we'll see what happens. And I have had 3 good shows on talking about why I think Chase Oliver is a good candidate. It's a shame more people in the party aren't getting behind Chase again as well. So thank you.
Gotcha. Kareem.
I'm an ANCAP man. An ANCAP stand.
He'll not let us say that.
Yeah, I'm allowed. Freedom. Check it out. You might like it. And I completely agree with Christopher. I think we need to actually help Chase Oliver, just because a libertarian candidate doesn't say I'm in love with Dr. Paul, or just because a libertarian candidate doesn't align with everything, or you don't like something that he says, doesn't mean he's not a libertarian. Like, this is becoming ridiculous, where it's like a checkbox, like, to get onto a call. Like, do you meet all of these? Oh, you don't meet this criteria. Oh, he said he doesn't like this, or oh, he said he's open borders, or oh, he said he's pro-choice. Like, oh my God, could he ever be a libertarian? This is getting ridiculous, and the purity testing is out of control. Also, I'm pretty excited. I'm working on podcast praxis with Comrade Bread in MLTP, so that is going pretty well. Also, I'm talking to another organization called the Money Enlist Society, which is trying to, before everybody freaks out, I'm not giving up on dollars yet, although I'd like to, if I'd be honest. They're working on what, I was talking to Chris Marlowe from there. He's very interested in talking to me. We're going to do a regular podcast this weekend. I don't know when. And we're also going to do a podcast with Mad Liberty talking about refi, which is called regenerative finance, which is a branch of DeFi. So that should be good. Going to get that episode up. And yeah, check out Keith Preston's stuff, Attack the System. Also, check out Anarch Unity. I'll be posting more articles on there once I get the time, and that's about it. ANCAP man, ANCAP stand. What the heck is on your shirt?
Which one of us?
I'm kidding.
Wait,
Angela.
no, seriously, which shirt?
He's got to be talking to Chris, right?
Yeah, I was giving him a hard time.
Wait, what is on his?
What's on your shirt, Chris?
Malay. Javier Malay.
I couldn't tell.
The Viva Libertad Carajo. Look, I actually,
Well,
if he didn't go,
we'll talk about
don't know.
Malay at some other point because we got plenty to say on that. Angela, your outro. Then I
Yeah,
gotta book ASAP. So go ahead.
nothing really. Don't have a podcast. Don't write books. I do have a Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm Angela TC. You can find me there. Find me on Facebook. But mostly I'm on Twitter. So that's that.
Oh, I would like to say something that Angela should have said. Here in Michigan, we have a lot of people that could use some legal help. So if anybody would like to donate, Angela could give that little URL because I never have it memorized. We have people that are being sued by the Libertarian Party and people who may or may not be dealing with Andrew Chatterton in court, and we could use some donations. Angela, what's the link?
lncfight.org/Michigan.
There we go.
Cool. What I will say as my closing statement, and then I'm pretty much just going to end it and book. Thank you all for coming on, and I hope next time we can have a broader pool of opinions. I did send this out to quite a few people, but we'll see if those people are willing to join the next one. Either way, the general vibe that I just want to give off, be a better gardener. Build a better garden. Because there's a reason that they have succeeded for all of this time, and after, like, most of 100 years, the libertarian movement and party ain't doing shit except selling out to Trump or various other institutions. It's because the Libertarian Party needs to worry a whole lot more about being pro-humanity and actually working on themselves and figuring their own shit out before judging other people and before trying to claim that they would somehow be a better alternative while not actually demonstrating that. The next step, build your own garden and be a better gardener and actually fix your own problems. Because as long as the Libertarian Party is so co-opted and so overwhelmingly, like, comprised of compromise, the only thing that will ever get us is statism, and the only thing that we will ever get is a continued growth of the empire until it kills us all and crushes all of our freedom. So, get better. Get better in your own life before focusing on anyone else's. I have this new policy. It's going to be a 1/3, 2/3 policy. If 1/3 of my day is spent destroying, the other 2/3 have to be spent creating. I'm no longer going to spend most of my time focused on, like, you know, all the shit that I hate unless I'm going to do something about it, because what's the fucking point? My general goal is going to be moving up, getting my own shit figured out, actually being a better gardener, and not, like, acquiescing to this structure and system that wants us constantly fighting with each other and doing nothing and running on the fucking hamster wheel. So that's my thing. Because if we don't work on ourselves and fix the systemic and personal problems that have, like, actually created these circumstances, there's never any way that we're gonna smash the fucking state.